More Than a Horse. This one's brought to you by Harasta Trotters. Got a couple of things going on with Harasta Trotters, actually keep an eye out for there. But we're going to talk about Just Believe. I'm catching up with Jess Tubbs. Firstly, Jess, thank you very much. It is a Sunday and thank you for joining me.
No worries, that's all right.
I like doing these More Than Horses. I stop, I get too busy and you forget about them. And I think Harry, we're going to go with Harry instead of Just Believe because it's that's actually who he is. I think as an industry sometimes we actually forget what these horses are and maybe I suppose the road that these horses take people on and the journey that they have. Firstly, congratulations, 2023 Horse of the Year, and I believe you've actually been given the trophy too, which that part in itself is a major achievement, so well done with that.
Yeah, thank you. That was lovely. The owners came yesterday and presented us with the trophy and said that as a group they decided we should have it, so it'll take pride of place for sure.
Have you ever had one of those before? You've heard of it? No?
No, definitely not, no.
So this is actually the first Horse of the Year that Lara J have had?
Yeah, yep, and you know, quite possibly the only one we'll ever have, but yeah, it's certainly not lost on us how special it is.
It's actually interesting. I was looking up his 2023 record. I thought I'd better do some homework. I don't do a lot. 11 starts, 8 wins, 2 seconds and a third. And I was like, right. But he actually went to Europe. I'm going to have a little crack at HRA, only a little one. I can't, sometimes they're big ones, but I just need to put that in there. The fact that he might have contested an elite lop and you know went to the other side of the world. He's a phenomenal horse, isn't he?
He really is, yeah. He's just an athlete and, you know, he's a funny horse to deal with and brings a lot to the stable. It's a good way of getting Greg out of bed earlier if you bring Harry into the barn. So, no, he's just lovely to have around. Yeah,
and a lot's been said about Greg and his friendship with this horse, but he is unique. He's a plain bay. You see him at the races, he just stands there, goes out on the track, probably just does his job. Even, I reckon, most of his finishes, and do not mean this in a derogatory way, when he's crossing the line, there's no wow about him. He's not floating, like he does float across the ground, but it's not. But he's just, so many people have been capsulated by the horse, haven't they? He's
so tradesman-like in the way he does it, and yeah, you're right. There's nothing sort of remarkable to walk past him. Unlike his mate Better Eclipse, like you know, dark with the spots and got a lot of presence about him. Yeah, Harry's just a small sort of guy, and I think, you know, copped a few giggles when we went to Europe because he does look so, you know, different compared to the big stallions and that they've got over there. But I think that's part of that underdog that everyone's latched onto. And like you say, we're calling him Harry, not Just Believe. He's known as Harry around the world, and that's actually quite amazing. Yep. That's one of our favourite things, having him called Harry in the race calls and that sort of stuff. It's so unique, and it just shows the cut through that he's had to the broader racing public.
And that's exactly it. We don't sell him as a $1.30 favourite. As Harry, people want to know about him. You're a generational horse person. You've been around the game for a long time. You've got a lot of horses. You're showing me a paddock with a lot of the retirees. Can you put a handle on what it is about this horse that attracts so many people?
I'm not sure. Greg and I have spoken about it, and obviously he did have a good following ahead of going to the elite lop. You know, we loved him here, but I think going there as the underdog, and almost the fact that it did go so wrong in that elite lop heat, it kind of got even more support from everyone. In a way, we don't know that we would have had the same journey with Harry had that gone well. Like, you know, had he scraped into the final and, you know, run in that, we just don't know. And
you may not have stayed, you might have...
We'll never know what would have happened, and I think in a way it sort of was the making of Harry and of Greg and I. It was a real test of our own personal sort of endurance, copying that and feeling like we'd let everyone down. But I think the fact that it did go so wrong, we had so much outpouring of support, and people that maybe would have just watched and not mentioned anything felt bad and reached out, and it really gave us a good idea of just how many people were invested in the journey. Yep. People that we weren't like close with were getting up at ridiculous hours to watch him and cheering, and you know, it was pretty amazing. So in a way, that loss was kind of a win.
Which is funny because I know the pressure, and I saw some of the video footage, and you know, I think there's a couple of things that, you know, it might be a bit awkward, like afterwards, you and Greg just trying to find out, because there's cameras. As you said, it could have gone two ways, could have turned you guys completely off media. Thankfully it hasn't. You know, and turn people, you might have just packed up and come home, and then people say, well, what a wasted trip that was, and then, you know, no one really takes it on, if you like. It's pretty surreal, the ride that he has taken so many people on, you know, right from the start of his whole journey, his whole racing career.
Absolutely, and like I was saying, like, I think we all lose more than we win.
Yeah.
So in a way, that gutting defeat resonated with more people, and yeah, you know, we can all sort of relate to that. So yeah, it's something we've brought up between ourselves, that, you know, we got through Elite Lop Day, you know, we might get knocked over at Maryborough and you're pretty down, and we're like, hey, come on, it's not like we went to Sweden. So it's kind of changed the benchmark a bit.
And then at the end of it, and as I say, I think a lot of the time we measure ourselves by winners and how short they start, or, you know, if people are able to back them. His second basically showed the world how good he is. Like, he didn't actually win the race, and yet it's a second that people say, hey, this horse is the real deal.
Exactly, and they were talking about him in the top 10 trotters in the world at the
off
time.
the second.
Yeah, and like, it's quite surreal, and we sort of do say we don't think we'll really absorb what Harry's done for us or Australian trotting until he's in the retirement paddock, because it's just been so phenomenal and so special, and really we're still quite new in our career here. We've been so lucky to have him come through the gate, so yeah, it's been quite an overwhelming journey, that's for sure.
He's an amazing horse. The boys will remember the owners when Hughesy had him. It was Victorian Derby Day, and he didn't get in. And I remember they were blowing up, and they were like, he should have got in, and he missed out, and they weren't happy at all. Like, they were gutted that he didn't make it. And I was doing Trots Vision, I remember, and I'm like, oh, guys, you would have just been making up numbers and things like that. He's just that sort of horse, like you say about Europe, and he just has these highs and lows, but everyone seems to, at the end of it, love him. We've seen horses over a journey. Some horses will turn people, but otherwise there's horses that people just dislike or they love. But this bloke sort of manages to have peaks and troughs, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's certainly a unique character, and I think the fact that the owners sort of looked after him when he was younger, and Mick looked after him, is the making of him now, and why he can cop all the travelling and all that. You know, there's a lot to be said about the way that he handles himself, and the fact that he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care that we're here while he's eating his lunch. He's not concerned at all. He just lives his own life, and that goes a long way to his success. I think we could all learn a little bit from that, worrying less about what everybody else thinks. But yeah, it's interesting to see that a horse like him, a nondescript sort of looking animal, is the one that the people are standing over the fence from, and you hear them talking about Harry, people that you've never seen before. It's pretty cool.
Does he know how good he is?
Yeah, absolutely. He is well aware. He's absolutely aware of how good he is. He had shoes on the other week, and he gave the farrier what for once he'd had enough. Everything's on his terms, and the ego has just continued to grow. So he lets you know when he's had enough, and I think I saw an interview with Josh Dickey saying how he likes to do his work and then be left alone, and that's it. Some of them are hanging over the gate wanting cuddles and attention constantly, whereas Harry will check whether you got anything for him and then tell you to bugger off.
His mate next door, Jimmy, we'll touch on him in a sec at the end of it, but going from there. The ride you guys have been on is amazing, the commitment. I think Greg said in 2023, he reckons he was away nearly 6 months of the year. Not all with him. You know, your commitment to racing right across Australia, now New Zealand, also going to Europe, puts a lot of pressure. You've been able to sort of absorb most of that. Do you actually look back and enjoy it, or do you look back and say, how did we get through that? Or like, how do you at the minute, and he's still got plenty left to go. Hopefully, he's got years left of racing to go. How do you look at his career so far?
I think we're just getting through. I think to a degree, Greg and I feel responsible for him and for, the media, and making sure he's looked after and placed in the right races and competing in the right races for people to see him and for his owners to have the ride that they should have with him. I think it's more pressure than anything. And, professionally, the last couple of years have been phenomenal.
Yep.
Personally, we haven't had a harder couple of years really.
Yep.
The toll it takes on not only Greg and I, but the rest of the staff here. And all of our friends, you know, I've got friends I might see once a year at the moment, because you just don't have the time. We're bound to the stable, and like you say, Greg was away 6 months once you factor in all the travelling, and there's got to be all the work being done at home. So it's very hard lifestyle, as anyone in harness will know. And you know, we're the marketing team, we're the accounts team, we do everything ourselves. So whilst we might be inside once the sun goes down, you know, we're paying invoices and sending out bills and trying to work out where we can, you know, fit in the next travel plans, and can we actually get to that race, and how that's all going to work. So it's pretty all-encompassing. So I think we'll definitely look back fondly on the time that we've had with Harry, and like you say, hopefully more to come. But at the moment, it's really just a part of the business, and a very special one, but certainly a taxing one, which comes with plenty of attention.
Do you find yourself always thinking about him? Like that when he's in your stable, not necessarily I hope he's okay in the paddock or things like that, but just, you know, I'm sure you've got goals. We're not even going to worry about that, where he's, you know, I imagine it's Inter Dominion, but you've got races pinned out. But do you find that he's always in your mind at the minute? Like he's part of your family, you know, like he's always there somewhere in your mind, you've got something to think about with him, or you can just...
Probably not really.
No,
I think because he, you know, he does look after himself. He's not a needy horse. He's certainly one of the first that gets worked every day, but and you know, he might get the nicer paddock and that kind of thing. Not that he would probably care, but no, I think part of why, you know, we consider ourselves successful is we do put the care into all the horses. So in a way, we would probably spend more time with some of the problem kids that really do need it. Harry knows what it's all about, and
I don't have carrots, mate.
Yeah, he knows the routine, and he's not a high maintenance kind of guy, but he certainly does get a lot more carrots than anybody else.
Do you get jealous listening to Greg sometimes talk about him? Because, and I mean this in a nice way, because Greg said like he's developed a great mateship for the horse. Like I say jealous tongue in cheek, but like how do you see their relationship and how it's changed?
No, I think it's great. I mean, after Sweden, when they were just one-on-one for so long, you know, it's special, and we are a team, and you know, we get jealous of each other when the other horses like us. Better Eclipse has always been sort of Greg's mate, and I did a Sydney trip with him for a few weeks, and when we came back, he'd always come up to me to get caught in the paddock, and Greg had his nose right out of joint. So it swings and roundabouts, but Harry
doesn't worry about too many people, but he does fingers, doesn't he?
But yeah, no, look, I think, you know, I'm happy to be a part of the team that gets to look after Harry, and I'm not there on race day, so I think it's more important that when Greg takes the reins, he and Harry are the number one little duo.
On that, you weren't in New Zealand, you weren't able to get to New Zealand. Put my hands behind my back. You weren't able to get to New Zealand. How do you watch that? Like I don't know where you were. I mean, I was over there, lucky enough to be over there with Greg at the time when he won the Rowe Cup. But one, where do you watch it? And then how do you watch that? Like, do you find yourself sitting there just glued to it, or do you try to distract yourself a bit?
I generally distract myself. The tab trot I actually nearly missed. I was dragging the track, and one of my mates from the Meadows, he sent a message saying good luck, and then it just sort of made me look, because I thought I still had a bit more time. I went, oh crap. Yep. So then I hightailed it into the house, and just made it inside in time to watch the race. Good? That was good, yeah, because I wasn't nervous at all, and obviously it turned out pretty nicely. But the other couple are just on the couch in the dressing gear.
By yourself though?
Yep.
Yeah.
I you know, with Greg away, bedtime is very early, so the New Zealand time frames were good for that. Yep. So yeah, watch the race and maybe have a vodka and get into bed.
So I was going to say, so do you fist pump? Do you just sit there and breathe?
Bit of a mixed bag, really. I cried when Better Eclipse won the Auckland Cup. I think I was just so relieved for him to finally get that race, for himself. We put so many emotions onto the horses, and usually the disappointment that we feel is for them.
Yep.
And like, I have to remind myself sometimes they don't care. They come home, get dinner and go out with their mates the next day. They don't actually give a hoot what happens in the races, and that sort of makes me feel better sometimes. But I don't know, it's sort of, in some ways it's a bit of a relief when Harry wins now, because there is so much expectation on him. There was a little bit the same when Dad had Mel Park Major going at his peak. Yep. It goes from being really, really fun to just a sense of sort of responsibility and pressure.
Is it like that with Harry?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. We've never had so much media, and I mean, Greg's sort of grown up doing a lot of media, and it's not my go. As you know, I've got my own issues with anxiety, and having so many eyes on us is pretty overwhelming. So there's moments that are just thrilling and really exciting. When he won his first Inter Dominion, I was just, as much as we were expecting him or hoping he would win, it was just quite incredible to think that we'd won an Inter Dominion.
Yep.
And then
the next year there's the pressure, and I saw that pressure.
Yeah, it was very different. Anyone that knows Greg knows how relaxed he always is.
He wasn't.
No, he wasn't, and that's sort of part of my role as well, just to make sure he's got the space to settle his head and make sure he's going to go and drive a good race. And you know, Harry had it covered, we needn't have worried. But it's certainly, there's a lot of pressure that comes with us, and it affects us differently on different days. Yeah,
you enjoy it?
Sometimes.
Yeah. it is cool, and that's, I reckon we've got a great sport, and I think sometimes, I actually know sometimes we undersell it so much it's not funny. But then people look at it and say, how lucky are Greg and Jess, because you got Harry. But then there's the two different sides to it, and I'm sure at some point in time you'll sit back. It might be 1 year after he's retired, it might be 10 years after he's retired, and say, well, that was actually a lot of fun, because humans are geared to forget the hard times and things along those lines as well. But it's just a cool ride, and I think he's outstanding. I mean, New Zealand, Jimmy's next door. You would have thought Jimmy was the star of the show. Everyone was picking on his little dots, and he's standing there pawing and looking at me, and here's this lovely horse that just does the job. You said there before, you almost got emotional after Jimmy done the job, whereas it's like, right, tick the Rowe Cup off the list of races that he needs to win. So it's sort of that different emotion, if you like. Yeah,
absolutely. And look, don't get me wrong, we are very lucky to have Harry, and we appreciate it. There's no part of it that is disappointed that this idiot walked through the gate. But I think it's hard sometimes when you are having a period where you're struggling, and everyone wants to tell you how well you're going.
Yep.
And I think that can be a little bit tricky sometimes. I think everyone, no matter how well you're doing, has tough times in every walk of life. And so it's been difficult to navigate, and a lot of the time on our own in the past while. So but we're certainly going to look back on it fondly. It's been worth it. He's
and it ain't over, and it's not over yet. We're not doing this interview because it's over, because he's about to start. I think I did one about 12 months ago with Greg the same time, just to see where he was at and everything else like that. Just quickly, he is okay. Everything's ticking along nicely at the minute.
Yeah, really good. He's just jogging at the moment. He'll start heat work again soon. They had a few weeks off after New Zealand, and then they were just at the gate waiting for us when we went past every day. So they're both back in work now, and Greg came off the track after rudely buzzing past a 2-year-old filly on jog work the other day, and just said, "Did you see how fast Harry was?" We did, and she got a bit of a fright. But anyway, he's good, and he'll be back at it soon.
Another end of an inning campaign, so good luck.
We'll see.
Jess, thank you. We'll see.
There's some options, so who knows.
Do I get an exclusive, or are you just going to tease that
No,
one
we haven't made a decision yet.
Jess,
Greg did have a good time in New Zealand, though.
Oh, the Dominion handicap. Prize money increase too. I might be over there next week to announce a prize money increase. Brad Steele will be telling me off for just even leaking that one out. But it'd be cool. Like he has ticked off just about all the feature races. Yes, my camera is getting wet. It's absolutely
Birmingham
bucking
weather's
down,
kicked in.
so it'll be fine, but don't worry. Jess, thank you. And I will say, Harasta Trotters, please keep a good eye out. There's a couple of announcements happening in the next couple of days. One thing about his sire too, 26 foals, 26 winners. 26 have raced, 26 have won. So,
I've got my mare in foal to Orlando Vici this year, my one and only broodmare for the year, so fingers crossed.
$12,000 is great value, so just does an enormous job. Jess, thank you. More than honest, thank you very much. Well done for the trip that you've taken us on. And I say us, there's so many people who've been lucky enough to be on that trip with you, with Harry, and it's just outstanding, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.